Tonight we're going to try to attempt to install this new transmission mount in this Titan. This is a CJD Racing. We'll compare it to the old one once we get it out. I've got 17mm swivel on an impact and 17mm on my socket and a hammer. I've already used penetrating oil on the bolts. Let's get going. We're going to start by removing the 3 nuts off these 3 bolts in the cross member. Those are all 17s. I'm going to start these with the breaker bar, and then hopefully we'll switch to the impact. Get them out quicker. I am going to remove this skid plate because I do have to put a jack underneath the transfer case. I could do the transmission pan, which is just right here, but I don't think that's as strong. I'd rather put on something solid. So I'm going to take out these 5 bolts, and they are not a 10, so I'll have to go get a 12 and come back and do those. So all of our 3 nuts are off. Next step will be to put the floor jack under the transfer case, and I'm going to use a block of wood just to spread it out a bit and jack this up about 3/4 of an inch. So we have our jack supporting our transfer case, and we're going after these. We've got to drop the cross member to get that old mount out. We have our 4 bolts loose. I can pull them out. So we've got to pull this cross member down, and you're going to want your BFH. So I'm just hitting both sides, and it's moved a little bit. I put a rag here because I didn't want to take all the paint off. I know it's already a little rusty, but didn't want to fill it full of dents either. Don't have too much room yet. It's working. We'll just go back to the other side. That side's a little bit better. I got a little more room to swing better on the other side. We'll keep going back and forth until that drops off. You can see we're making progress. That side's dropped down a lot. This side's dropped down. There's our mount there. I'm just going back and forth hitting the sides. This side seems to be a little bit more stuck than the other one. Alright. Looks like we got it. Two more 17 mils. Found some mud. There's our OEM mount. So the reason I'm changing this out is just preventative maintenance, especially with the heavy towing that I do. And it looks like I got it in good time, because you can see it's starting to crack, and there and around there. So it hadn't failed yet, but it was getting closer to failing. I have 100,000 kilometers on the truck, 7 years old, actually 8 years old now, 8 years old Titan. I do a lot of heavy towing, so want something a little stiffer. New mount. This looks like it'll be a lot stronger than this type. This type, it looks like it's relying on the rubber to hold it together, whereas this one, it's got the bolt all the way through to hold it together, and then the rubber's just there to cushion it. So CJD Racing, looks like a good design, comes with hardware, makes it easy. These bolts are a lot shorter, but there's no thread on half that bolt, so that should be fine. We'll get it in. We're going to reuse these 2 bolts for the mount to the transfer case, and then we got new bolts for the cross member. If you guys have a torque spec for these bolts, put them down below. I didn't see a torque spec in my manual, and the instructions didn't have a torque spec. I'm just going to pretty much go by feel to what they were when I took them out. I know my impact does about 105 foot-pounds, and that's fairly accurate with the torque wrench. So I'll run them in with my impact, and then probably give them a little bit by hand just to feel where we are. On this, the 2 bolts go to the back. Actually, and there wasn't any thread locker on these when I took them out, so I won't put any on them. In the back, these 2 bolts were in excellent condition. The other ones weren't. I'll put a link in the description to these. I got these on Amazon, and I believe I got this on Amazon as well. Put a link for that. Couple Agadugas. Using an air impact. The air impacts are a lot more powerful, so don't go all the way with the air impact. This isn't something you want coming loose. This lot's tight. Alright, so I'm going to remove the nuts and washers from this. This does rotate, so make sure it's straight. Okay, we're going to put our cross member back up. It's a tight fit. Only want to use our BFH again. Make sure you got it the same way that you took it out. Alright, now it's gonna kind of stay there, but we're just gonna have to tap it. Try and tap it evenly. Watch where your bolt holes are. Make sure these bolts are going to line up too. So as you're coming up to line up your cross member bolts, make sure your mount bolts drop in, the 3. This will rotate a bit. And there's also some adjustment on these bolts. So if you're off, you may have to take the cross member back down, loosen these two bolts, and the holes are slotted so you can move it forward and back and side to side a little bit. You want to try and get your hose lined up as best as possible, and then start getting your cross member bolts back in. So they went back in pretty easily. A couple taps on the cross member, and they're in. I'll get the nuts and tighten those down, those 4 nuts. And like I said, I couldn't find a torque spec, so we're just going to go really tight. So we got 3 nuts left to get up there. The tricky part's going to get the washers up there first. It came with washers. So we'll get them up, get them tightened down. I won't go as tight on those as cross member bolts, but it'll still be pretty tight. So the new nuts are 19s, and we figured out how to get the washers on. Stick your finger through one of the other holes to hold the washer. You're going to put the nut in your socket. Okay, so I'm going to put the washer on. Stick your finger through one of the other holes to hold the washer on. Stick the nut in the socket. Put the socket over the bolt. And we'll screw that on. And those are lock washers. Sorry, lock nuts. And these, we're going to have to put a wrench on the top of the bolts to hold it while we do up the nuts. So just before you tighten them down, take your jack out, weigh the transfer case back down, and now we can tighten these up. And those bolts are 19s as well. We're going to do them a bit at a time. We're not going to do them all at once. We're going to do a little bit on one, and then a little bit on the next one, a little bit on the next one. Now this one, I'm not sure if it's going to spin or not. And this one definitely is going to spin, so we're going to put a wrench on the top. This one. See how far up we've got. These are locking nuts, so I'm not as worried about getting them as tight. So just a couple of Agadagas on this guy. There we go. And all we've got left to do is put our shield back up for the transfer case. And we're done. So there's our new mount installed. So if this video was interesting, please like it and subscribe to the channel for more content. Consider joining to become a member, or if any of my videos have helped you save time or money, consider using the super thanks button down below to help out my channel create more videos for you. Thank you.